Imagine a country owing more money than it earns in a lifetime. Nobody seems to know who actually owns this debt. Who is really pulling the strings behind the scenes? Is it banks, foreign governments, or something far more hidden? Today, we're uncovering the shocking truth about national debt. You won't believe who gets paid first and who suffers in silence. Every country, big or small, faces a choice: spend beyond its means or tighten its belt. Most nations choose to borrow. They issue government bonds, take loans, or seek financial aid. On paper, it seems simple. A country owes money, and creditors are paid back. But in reality, the story is far more complex. Often, it's a story of power, influence, and control. Take the United States as an example. As of 2025, the U.S. national debt sits at over $33 trillion. That's more than the combined GDP of many countries. But who holds this money? Roughly a third is owed to foreign nations, China and Japan being the largest holders. Another large portion is owed to domestic investors. From banks to pension funds, many are invested in these bonds. And then there's the Federal Reserve, quietly holding trillions in government bonds. These aren't just numbers. They are invisible hands shaping the economy. Consider Greece during the European debt crisis. In 2010, Greece's debt skyrocketed. Suddenly, the whole world was watching. Creditors like the European Central Bank, the IMF, and wealthy European nations controlled Greece's financial fate. Every austerity measure, every cut in pensions or salaries wasn't just policy. It was a direct response to those who owned the debt. For ordinary citizens, the cost was real. Think of it like this. Imagine you borrow money from multiple friends. Some are strict, some are lenient. The stricter friends dictate how you live your life. They control where you can spend and even what you can't buy. In the world of nations, creditors act in a similar way. Some quietly watch, others demand control. Sometimes the consequences are devastating. But here's the mystery. When a country is drowning in debt, who really benefits? Who profits from this cycle? More importantly, who decides if the debt will ever be repaid or forgiven? Now that we know who holds the debt, let's explore how this invisible power plays out. Ordinary citizens often bear the brunt. After World War I, Germany was burdened with massive reparations. The Treaty of Versailles demanded Germany pay billions to allied nations. Germany didn't have that money, so they borrowed from private banks, mostly in the US. The cycle created hyperinflation, wiping out savings. Ordinary Germans struggled to survive. In other words, creditors controlled the country's destiny. Meanwhile, the people paid the price. Fast forward to today. China owns over $1 trillion of U.S. debt. This gives China a subtle yet significant influence over the U.S. economy. Could they leverage it in political negotiations? Possibly. Debt isn't just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's leverage, power, and influence. Creditors can be divided into three main categories. First, foreign governments, like China or Japan, buy bonds to invest surplus funds. Second, domestic investors, including banks, pension funds, and wealthy individuals, see government bonds as safe investments. Third, central banks, such as the Federal Reserve, can print money to buy government debt. Central banks control interest rates and liquidity. Each of these creditors has different motives, but all shape the country's financial decisions. Often, they do so in ways invisible to the public. Imagine a small business that owes money to multiple lenders. One wants strict repayment. One is lenient. One controls spending. The business owner might think they are in charge. In reality, the creditors are calling the shots. Scale that up to a nation. The principle is the same. Trillions of dollars and millions of lives are at stake. So the question remains, if the government controls the country, why does debt give so much power to creditors? What happens when a country can't pay back? Who decides its fate then? So far, we've seen who holds the debt and how it gives them power. But what happens when a country can't keep up with repayments? This is where the story gets darker. In 2010, Greece's debt-to-GDP ratio soared past 170%. The European Union, IMF, and ECB stepped in with bailouts. But the packages came with strict conditions. Every public sector cut, every pension reduction, every tax hike was dictated by creditors. Ordinary citizens faced unemployment, protests, and poverty. Meanwhile, creditors ensured loans were repaid. Greece's economy slowed for years, but lenders were protected. Argentina faced a dramatic crisis in 2001. The country had borrowed heavily from international banks. When it defaulted, billions were lost. Citizens faced extreme hardship. Banks closed, savings disappeared, social unrest erupted. Hedge funds and creditors negotiated partial recovery. The system often favors those who lend, not borrow. Bailouts are presented as lifesavers, but in reality, they protect creditors. Countries may receive money, but terms require austerity or privatizations. This ensures creditors are repaid while citizens bear the burden. Think of it like a kid borrowing a video game from friends. What if the friends demand the game back, extra points, and control how the kid plays next? That's what national debt does on a global scale. It controls choices, policies, and lives. Some countries borrow not just from need, but because the system enforces dependence. Richer nations and international banks profit. Others struggle to break free. Debt isn't just numbers. It's influence and power. In this high-stakes game, are countries free or just pieces on a giant chessboard? Think about it. Which countries play the game well and which just survive?